What's going on, guys? BriarRabbit here. I have a ton of stuff I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the most recent patch for Destiny 1.0.2.3. I want to talk about what the development team said about that patch, but I also want to talk about the gameplay you're seeing here. So I'm going to start off with that. As you can see, I'm using the Suros regime. I just picked this gun up from Xur last weekend, and it's my first experience using the gun. Now, obviously, I've fought people against the gun before. Everybody was telling me that it was overpowered. It's the best auto rifle in the game. And I kind of said, I don't know, it doesn't seem that good. I'm beating people with it all the time, or I'm beating people who have it all the time with other auto rifles, so it doesn't seem like it's that powerful. So I picked it up from Xur. I really was curious, how good is this thing? And it's pretty good, especially at longer ranges. It seems to have a longer range than the standard auto rifles that I've been using. So I do like it quite a bit. But then I started doing a little research about it, and the prevailing wisdom seems to be that if you're planning on using this weapon for PvP mainly, which seems to be its focus, that you don't actually want to upgrade it, because one of the first upgrades for this weapon slows down the rate of fire, but also adds more damage per bullet. So what you end up doing is actually, you're shooting at a slower rate of fire with more damage per shot. And that actually reduces the damage per second that you're doing with this gun inside the Crucible. Now, I don't know if that'll be true in the Iron Banner, but inside the standard Crucible, that seems to be what it's doing. Now, a lot of people would argue that the slower rate of fire makes the gun more accurate. But as you can see from the clips in here, I definitely don't have a problem with the accuracy of this gun. It's a very accurate gun, unupgraded. So I've been kind of like testing around with it, playing with it. But what I don't have is a way to compare it to a fully upgraded Suros, because I only have one of these guns. So look for that coming soon. As soon as I can get another Suros, I would like to do a comparison in damage per second with a bone stock Suros and a fully upgraded Suros inside of the Crucible. Not the Iron Banner, but the standard Crucible. Maybe inside the Iron Banner would be interesting as well, because it'll be interesting to see if the weapon damage buffs actually stack up in the Iron Banner. So I'm looking to try and figure that out. If anybody's got any hard evidence, I'd love to see it. I'd love to get a link to it. So let me know. That's a request to you guys. So next, let's talk about the patch notes. The patch notes were pretty brief this week. Deej did come out and talk about it a little bit, because he understood that the community was pretty upset about the changes they made to the raid. So the first thing they really wanted to stress here was that the game is now more stable. They updated a bunch of stuff to make the game crash less, which is great news. They did this both on the server side and on the client side. So on your Xbox or on your PlayStation, the game should be more stable now. You'll get fewer zebra error codes, get kicked out of the game less, that kind of stuff. So that's great news, and that was the bulk of what they changed in this week's update, which is all great. It's not particularly interesting. You want the game to run great. You don't really care about how they do it. You know what I'm saying? But then they went on to talk about the raid, and this is what people have been talking about all week long. So last week, Bungie had told us that they are making changes to the raid. The first thing they're going to do is end the cheese. You're not going to be able to just push Atheon off of his platform to win the raid anymore. Atheon being the final boss in the raid. And the second thing they're going to patch, or fix in their term, is to actually change the way Atheon teleports players. Now, it used to work that the people furthest away from Atheon in the raid would be the ones to get teleported and do all their, good stuff with the relic and, all of that stuff, right? Now, that worked pretty well, because what it allowed people to do was set their raid teams and their teammates up so that the more experienced players could be in charge of that stuff, and the less experienced players would be in charge of keeping the portal open or getting the portal open, so those players could return and to clear out any harpies, do any of that kind of stuff. That worked pretty well. But it clearly is not what Bungie had intended. And I think, to be honest with you, I'm going to go against the grain here and say I think that Bungie might have gotten it right by changing this. And I'll say this because I have run a few different raids where the people who are new, or the people who didn't really know what was going on, but behind those portals, never even got to see that content, and that's kind of a bummer, you know? Now, you could make an argument saying, well, you know, once you learn how to do it, once you get more proficient at the raid, then you'll be able to be one of those people. But now the way it's going to work is those people are going to be randomly selected, so everybody will have to communicate, even to new players, what exactly is going on behind those portals. And I think that is going to be a more enjoyable experience for new players especially, but overall for everybody, because now it won't just be the 3 most experienced players running through the portals, getting all that stuff done, and leaving kind of the newbies behind. Those newbies never get to see that content when you get, you know, teleported to Mars or to Venus. And that stuff's really interesting. It's a really cool part of the raid. So now it being totally random could be a lot cooler. You know, we'll have to see how it works. I have not run the raid in this random configuration yet. We'll have to see how it works. It's definitely going to be a lot harder, but, you know, the raid was supposed to be the biggest challenge inside Destiny. So I want to talk about what Deej said about this a little bit, because he actually apparently got behind the people that were complaining about this change. He went to the developers and he said, you know, do we have to make this change? People like it the way it is. The developers said, yes, this is the way it was supposed to be all along. And then he said, well, what about just making the easy mode work this way and the hard mode goes to random? And a lot of people, you know, and a lot of people would say, you know, that works great. But the developer said, no, there's nothing easy about the raid. You know, there's a normal mode and there's a hard mode. So people who would just get through the hard mode, you know, get through the normal mode fairly easily, can then go over to the hard mode and get a little more challenge and get some better rewards. So Deej kind of said, you know, I kind of agree with you guys, and I asked about this, but the game is supposed to be hard. The raid is supposed to be difficult. And this is one of the things that was broken when we launched it. We're fixing it now. Deal with it. And I gotta say, I kind of agree with that sentiment. You know, I know that people are really happy with kind of like just speed running their way through the raid over and over again to get the rewards. But it's supposed to be a teamwork experience. It's supposed to be everybody communicating, everybody kind of working together to accomplish a big task. And when you have just kind of the newbies get left behind and the 3 most experienced players go through the portals, that's not what's happening. It's not teamwork. It's just kind of people Sherpa-ing other people. And I don't think that's the way it was intended. So that's what I think about it. Either way, they've made the change. It doesn't look like they're going to turn back on that. I'm interested to see how their experience with how people have run the raid to begin with in this raid is going to affect what they're doing for raids coming in the future DLCs. That should be very interesting. Now, I did also want to talk about a couple of notes they put at the end of the patch notes, things that aren't fixed yet, but things that may get fixed. So I'm just going to read this verbatim real quick. More updates are to follow as we continue to support Destiny. Future enhancements being worked on include exotic weapon tuning, new features for voice communication between match-made teammates, and the ability to hold more bounties in your pocket at any time. I read this paragraph and it made me very happy. Now, we've all heard about this exotic weapon tuning before. They talked about this right at the game's release. People were upset that Bad Juju and Thorn were just useless weapons, and Destiny came out and said, yeah, we're going to patch those. Don't get rid of them. You know, you will find a use for them eventually once we buff them up a little bit. But all we've seen so far is the weapons kind of get pulled back, like the Vex Mythoclast get pulled back to be more in line with the other weapons. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm actually a big fan of Thorn. I just think it's a cool looking weapon, but it just doesn't have a whole lot of usefulness because of the slow reload time and the really small clip. So I'm really looking forward to this. I can't wait till they start patching these exotics, especially the ones that are really underpowered, to make them feel exotic. Also, the next thing is the voice communication features between match-made teammates. This is a no-brainer. This needs to happen. Getting into the Tiger Vanguard playlist that I play in a lot, and not being able to talk to these guys without like doing like friend requests or anything like that, it really sucks. I just want to be like default talking to these guys. I think it would also cut down on the amount of people who just kind of like leave their console behind. They go AFK, let other people run the strike for them, and then reap the rewards. So this is just an awesome thing. I can't wait till this is implemented. I think it'll even further bolster the sense of community that's already developing inside Destiny. I can't think of a more fun experience to play with random players, and I can't wait to be able to actually coordinate attacks with, you know, random players inside a strike. I think that's going to be a great idea. The final thing they say is the bounties. You'll actually be able to hold more bounties in your pocket anytime. That's great too. That's just a nice addition to be able to, you know, have like a set of Crucible bounties and a set of strike bounties going at the same time will be very nice. So that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about all the topics we discussed today. It was a long video. I'm sorry it was so long. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button if you liked it. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.